Hello, this is my PowerPoint presentation of Teen Space Evaluation of the Porter Ranch Public Library, which is located in Porter Ranch, Southern California. Intro to the library. We will specifically look at the Porter Ranch Library located in Porter Ranch, California, and its dedicated young adult space. When visiting the library, one of the clerks there, as this particular library does not currently have a young adult librarian, presented the space and answered questions. Showed the area and commented that it was the embarrassment of the library, which was a sentiment shared with the rest of the staff. In studying the YA space, this isn't an uncommon occurrence for libraries to ignore a space for teens. The Porter Ranch Library was not designed with any adolescent input, and as a space does not account for the developmental, academic, and personal needs of teens. Porter Ranch Library seems to neither embrace the traditional roles of a teen space nor the new innovative ways. It takes a passive stance, which could be because they haven't had a consistent YA librarian in place for 7 years, and are not actively working towards integrating teen needs. When talking with the library clerk in the teen space, there were no adolescents present during the entirety of the conversation. The average amount of teens in the library on a weekday afternoon varies from 4 to 10 people, and on weekend afternoons, about the same. Due to COVID-19, there is no in-person programming, but pre-pandemic programs would bring in anywhere from 6 to 15 teenage participants. The Porter Ranch Public Library teen space is not separated in any way from the rest of the library. The whole library is one giant rectangle with a community space room in the back that is accessible to any group that signs up to use it. The makeup of the Porter Ranch teen space is 2 large shelving units on 2 walls, 3 large wooden rectangular tables, and wooden chairs placed at the tables. There is no sign other than the young adult sign, even though adults and children are allowed to use the area, just as teens are allowed in all other parts of the library. There is no technology in the space. There is only a CD rack in the corner that can be accessed by all. Berner specifically states that by surveying libraries that have purposely separated YA spaces has led to improved YA services and feedback. Porter Ranch has no sectioned off area just for teens. There is no flow into the rest of the library. It is just one communal space. There is also no theme and very little decoration to the space. There are 2 posts leading up to the ceiling that display teenage patrons' art. The library clerk stated that she took down the sign on the post that dated the artwork from 2016 because she thought it seemed outdated and sad. There is no teen atmosphere and no art besides the patron examples and a few generic reading posters. There is one display shelf that holds 5 books that are based on what popular books are at the library. The last YA librarian was placed in the role in early 2022 after the previous YA librarian left when the pandemic started. The replacement started in early 2022 but was promoted to senior librarian at a different branch a few months later, and no one has filled her position. The space hasn't been touched since the mid-2000s. There are no teen volunteers and no way for teens to be able to speak out about the space. From the research garnered through the readings, this lack of teen input into the design process leads to feelings garnered through the readings leads to no feelings of teen ownership of the space, and most likely accounts for the low usage of the area. Porter Ranch does not allow any sort of space for individual use of anything, nor really group use or communication. Teens who would prefer to enjoy their private time, like adults, would have to contend with being right next to the children's area. While Porter Ranch is situated in a higher income neighborhood in the San Fernando Valley and would presumably mean that kids have their own private spaces at home, the library having its own teen space and private areas for teens by themselves might be something that teens who share spaces at home and school would prefer. Physical design elements have a large impact on how welcoming and comfortable the library feels, making user-centered design a crucial consideration into serving teens. Agosto. The design elements in Porter Ranch do not reflect the needs of the community or the teens of today's society. There are no computers, comfy chairs, or any type of comfortable furnishings. There are 3 non-specific posters hanging up in the teens area that have a graphic art look to them. There's almost no space to display anything. There are no tangible objects and only 2 shelving units for book collections and 1 shelving unit for test prep books. There is no separation of spaces in the teen section, no place specifically designed for study, and no space designed for socializing or communal activity. While flexibility of the space is more important than having specifically designated areas, the Porter Ranch space is too small and public for anything to really take place. The teenagers are not allowed to use the community room for studying and can only access it if there is a library-sanctioned event or program taking place. Porter Ranch has no teen advisory board and no teen volunteers. There was a program before COVID, but it has not been reinstated. The teen space is very much integrated into the rest of the library, but there seems to be no teen input or participation in any area. Adults, on the other hand, often come into the teen space to use the tables and chairs or browse the books, leaving absolutely no area for adolescents to connect. One interesting thing about the book layout of the library is that the manga and graphic novel section, which typically would subside in the YA area, is actually in the children's area here. The staff has received many complaints from parents about its location because the title pages are often quite violent and graphic. The library's response was to put a disclaimer sign over the graphic novel bookshelf instead of moving it. This placement of the graphic novels also means that teenagers would have to go over to the children's area in order to browse these popular items. As you can see, it even says YA on the graphic novels. The location and atmosphere could make teens uncomfortable being around children and parents and effectively make them not go over there. Greater YA participation may effectively lobby for more YA space or create a perception among library staff and designers that the space should be larger to accommodate greater youth numbers or both. Burner. With no YA participation, there can be no action to make the space not only bigger and more private, but give teens input on where their most popular books and graphic novels should be located. In conclusion, the class readings make sure to emphasize the limited writing of teen spaces in public libraries and how most existing research is written from an adult perspective and very rarely by adolescents. Inspired from the Nordic Forest Space Model and the San Jose State University 3-year research study of the physical and spatial aspects of YA library services, the Porter Ranch Library teen space needs a lot of improvements. These improvements are not only about the space itself, but what the space is offering to the teen patrons both inside and outside of the library. This is my reference page of things quoted in my PowerPoint. Thank you very much.